Hello everybody and welcome to What About the Game. Today I'm going to be talking about Return to PopoloCrois, a story of seasons fairy tale on the 3DS. Return to PopoloCrois, a story of seasons fairy tale is, as you'd expect, a crossover between two video game franchises. PopoloCrois is a niche RPG series originally adapted from manga, while Story of Seasons is an offshoot of the famous Harvest Moon series of farming simulator games. So here we have a collision of two genres, a JRPG farming simulator. After a brief retelling of previous PopoloCrois games, the story begins on Pietro's 13th birthday. He sneaked out of the castle to go and give a gift to a witch called Narcia, who he appears to have a not-so-subtle crush on. Like many JRPGs, it begins with a cold opening, a task or situation that's of little consequence to the overall plot. But, with murmurings of dark forces in the area, it's not long before the story really kicks into gear. In an attempt to find a solution to the impending problems, Pietro is willingly transported to another world, although not everything is as it seems. Pietro is now trapped alone in a foreign world with even bigger problems than his own. The evil forces are infesting the fertile lands, preventing crops from being grown, and leaving the population in a perilous position. After being rescued by a heroic wolf, which makes sense later, and aided by two boys with a mysterious past, Pietro embarks on a quest to not only save his own world, but to save this new one too. The story overall is very harmless. It doesn't break any grounds, nor will it tug at your emotions. It's simple, cheerful, and enjoyable. The whole plot moves at a fast pace, moving from place to place to bring fertility back to the land and hopefully stop the nefarious plans of the Dark Lord Griffith and his sycophants. It harkens back to a simpler, more innocent time, which I thoroughly enjoyed. The corny yet often funny dialogue and the colourful cast of characters meant that it was a welcome respite for me, although I can see this being a negative for others. As soon as you begin to move Pietro around, you'll feel a slight awkwardness. Despite the circle pad, your movements are based on a grid of small squares, meaning you can only move in 8 directions. Due to the style of the game, and those that have come before it always feels a little clunky and somewhat off, as you can't even walk in a circle correctly. It's not a major complaint at all, but you will definitely notice it. The battle system is interesting even though we've seen it in other games before. Instead of stationary characters lined up giving out attacks, you can move your player around the battlefield on a grid. If you move close enough to an enemy, you can attack it. Like the story, it's actually refreshingly simple, maybe too simple for some, but I kind of enjoyed not having to think too much about the different mechanics. Of course, you can do your normal attack, or utilize each character's unique skills that they learn as they level up. They range from magic attacks, more powerful physical attacks, and even a team-up attack between two characters who share a bond. Like most JRPGs moving into the modern times, there's an auto-battle feature. I found this very useful when retreading grounds that I'd already passed, and knew I could easily handle the monsters in the area. Another modern JRPG element is the implementation of being able to adjust the encounter rate on the fly. I found this useful too. On the rare occasion that I didn't feel like fast travelling to a nearby village, I'd ramp up the encounter rate and put on auto battle. It was grinding without feeling like grinding. Not that you would ever need to grind. Return to PopoloCrois is quite possibly the easiest JRPG that I've ever played. On normal setting, I didn't have a single character get knocked out until the final boss battle, and that was due to my blind overconfidence from the previous 20 hours playing. Personally, I enjoyed not having a taxing time playing the game, but it's definitely something close to JRPG fans' hearts. For those wanting some kind of a challenge, I recommend you choose the hard difficulty from the start, which you can change on the fly too. As I previously mentioned, there's a whole other aspect of the game to uncover. With Story of Seasons being the spiritual successor to the Harvest Moon series, there is a focus on crop growing and animal rearing. While it may take the sidekick role to the JRPG story, there's definitely the core gameplay here. As Pietro begins to come to terms with this situation, he stumbles into an old abandoned farm, which he will soon call his home from home. It's a quaint little place at first, but will gradually open up to a decent size. It's here you will do all the things that you're used to doing in the Harvest Moon games. You have plenty of fertile land to plant crops, and a modest barn to house chickens, cows, and even alpacas, because everybody loves alpacas. The last Harvest Moon game that I played was A Wonderful Life on the GameCube. So I don't know how the mechanics have evolved over time, but they're definitely a lot simpler here than when I last played them. The farming is a very passive aspect of the game. It's fun and cute, but for the game as a whole, you don't need to worry about it if you really don't want to. It's more of an endgame activity, and it's the thing that you concentrate on once you've finished the main story. One interesting feature of the farming is that as you gradually cleanse the world of evil, you gain access to more farms in different locations, albeit much smaller than your home farm. Each farm you gain can grow different produce. In fact, I'm pretty sure some of them are based on seasonal things. One farm will grow summer type produce, another will grow winter vegetables, and so on. All in all, there are 6 farming locations to manage, which is a healthy number. In order to cleanse the world, you and your gang must travel around and free the fairies that protect the farmlands. It may sound ridiculous, but your fairy companion shrinks you down to size so that you can go in the undergrowth and destroy the monsters that is causing the ruin of each field. Doing this to all the fields in one area gives you access to the ruins, which in turn gives you access to the new farmland and the imprisoned fairy. It sounds rather long-winded, but during play it's very simple. These undergrowth sections and the ruins are actually what you'd say are the dungeons in the game, and they are also the worst part of the game by far. They're only long corridor mazes with nothing interesting in them at all. There are a lot of these kind of dungeons, dozens in fact, but for the most part they are only one floor and they don't last long at all. It gets pretty repetitive to be honest, which is a shame. When there's the odd dungeon that's actually like a proper dungeon, the game really picks up a lot, and it's a shame that there wasn't more like these ones. Like any farming simulator worth its salt, Return to PopoloCrois lets you do the whole dating sim thing. Even though you practically have a girlfriend already, and you're very much in love, the game still lets you cringe at the awful flirting by giving gifts to cute girls in every village. If you give them enough presents over time, they will like you more and more, until eventually they'll ask if they can live on your farm. The more the merrier, Pietro expresses with a twinkle in his eye. And to be honest, while it's all cute and innocent, I feel the dating sim part is oversimplified. There's no depth to it, which makes it a little superfluous. Turning up at their village once in a while and handing them a spare turnip has no satisfaction at all. But there are plenty of other things to do beside that. Around the world you can go bug catching, you can mine rocks, you even have a synthesis machine in your home where you can fuse things together to create better items. I actually really enjoyed this part and it proved useful for getting some awesome weapons. Even after I finished the game, I still wanted to carry on synthesizing and find all of the recipes. There are also plenty of side missions to be getting on with. Wandering through a town you may see some folk with a green face above their heads. This indicates that they have a mission for you. Sometimes they can be simple and mundane things like killing 5 of a certain enemy, delivering an item, or even grander missions that involve solving mysteries and such. So all in all, while the main story stretches over the 20-hour mark, you can definitely extend that if you wish by doing the many things available in Return to PopoloCrois. Visually it's nice and colourful, and in the overworld every place has a unique look to it. As mentioned though, the dungeons are either repetitive or just completely bland and boring, which tends to suck the life out of it a little. The music for the most part is good with lots of variation between different tracks. Unfortunately, many of the tracks seem to have repetitive 5-second melodies and they don't really develop into anything. Return to PopoloCrois, A Story of Seasons Fairytale, is a simple experience with plenty of things to do and enjoy. It combines 2 franchises seamlessly as though they've always been this way, with a very fun cast of characters and an enjoyable story. It may be overly simple for some, which is understandable, and the dungeons can be a bit of a downer, but I really enjoyed playing through it and I plan to keep on playing to get all those recipes. Okay guys, if you've enjoyed this video then be sure to like and subscribe to help me out. You can read the full review of Return to PopoloCrois at whataboutthegame.com, that will really help me out. And you can keep up to date with everything that I do by following me on Facebook and Twitter. The links are below. Thanks guys, bye bye.